Broncos country, we made it. Tomorrow, Denver Broncos football is finally back as they take on the Indianapolis Colts in their first preseason game. The game will kick off at 11 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. If you guys are in the Denver area, then I believe the game's going to be broadcast on Channel 9. If you are outside of the Denver area, then it will be nationally televised on the NFL Network. The only downside is it will be the Indianapolis Colts broadcast, not the Broncos broadcast. So if you're outside the Denver area, I highly encourage you to check out my game live stream. We'll bring in the broadcast audio from the Denver games or from the Denver broadcast, so that way you can at least sync up the audio and whatever footage you got, so that way you can at least hear the Denver version of things and you can hear my commentary as well. So hopefully you guys can tune in for that. And let's go ahead and break down some of the top storylines for this upcoming game. I think that there's going to be a lot to watch as we get this new iteration of the Denver Broncos this year. This, in many ways, is the true year one of the Sean Payton era because he doesn't have a quarterback that's completely holding him back from running the offense that he wants to run. Defensively, of course, there's the continuity with Vance Joseph, but there's going to be some significant scheme changes. They're going with more of a man-to-man press coverage type of scheme as opposed to the off-zone coverage that they really liked to run last year. Of course, they'll still sprinkle that in, but look for a more physical and aggressive defense from Vance Joseph's unit this year, and that's something that I think to an extent will be on display in the preseason, but we're not really going to see the full iteration of that until we get to week one of the regular season against the Seattle Seahawks. That's when we'll get a true look at what this defense is going to look like just from a schematic perspective outside of what we've seen during training camp. So jumping right in, starting with the quarterback position, the rotation was announced by Sean Payton the other day that Jarrett Stidham would start the game, Bo Nix would get reps with the 2s, and then Zach Wilson would get reps with the 3s. That's then going to change next week against the Green Bay Packers, where Bo Nix is going to start, Stiddy will work with the 2s, and then Zach once again with the 3s. I feel like we're going to see a really good showing from all three quarterbacks during this first preseason game because they've all been really ramping up their momentum in training camp over these last couple of days, especially guys like Bo Nix and Zach Wilson. I feel like both of them are really starting to play well in camp. Zach Wilson, I still feel like, is not in contention to be the starter because he hasn't gotten first-team reps in well over 2 weeks now, or almost 2 weeks, and he's gotten to a point where he's still in contention for the backup role, but not the starting role. I still feel like he could put some good stuff on tape and really separate himself from a Jarrett Stidham in that backup role, and he could easily be a cheap backup quarterback option and possibly make Jarrett Stidham expendable, but we'll go ahead and have that conversation for a later time. When it comes to Jarrett Stidham and this first-team offense, I just want to see them come out and be crisp, clean, and efficient right away. I want to see them be able to move the ball, execute, get the ball out on time, in rhythm, and in structure. So that's really what I'm looking for with Jarrett Stidham leading the first-team offense. But Bo Nix is slated to possibly get some reps with the first-team offense as well. That is really good news because that would indicate that he is in line to probably take that role from Jarrett Stidham sooner rather than later if he is getting those first-team reps, and then next week he's going to get first-team reps both in that joint practice with Green Bay as well as in the game. We'll see how long the starters actually play in the Green Bay game, but again, this is all good news just from ramping up Bo Nix's reps. What else do I want to see from Bo Nix when he gets out there? First of all, I just want to see how well he handles the pre-snap operation at the line of scrimmage. He's done that really well in training camp so far. I don't want any issues with cadence. I don't want any issues with alignment, guys not lining up in the right spot. I want Bo to be able to make sure everybody's where they need to be lined up. I don't want any issues with Bo setting the protection. I don't want to have to burn timeouts because we wasted too much time trying to get things set at the line of scrimmage. I want a clean, crisp, concise operation. Bo's done a good job of that so far. I'm looking to see that continue throughout the course of the preseason. Now, what I'm curious about is, will Sean Payton kind of give Bo some quick, easy completions, just to kind of get him in the groove right away when he first goes out there? Will he give him maybe some screen passes or an easy RPO, just some quick, easy reads, get the ball out of his hands quickly, and just get some confidence in your young rookie? So I'm really going to be looking for Sean Payton to fill the bill in that regard and not make things too muddled, too complicated right when Bo gets out there. We can settle him in, and later in the game we can maybe dial up some of like the deep passing concepts and all that good stuff, but I just want to get Bo comfortable, confident, and in rhythm for his first drive. And if we can just execute a few plays effectively and then have to punt the ball away, I'd consider that a win on the first drive, because we were able to move the ball a little bit and get things going offensively and at least get some efficiency going with Bo Nix in there. That's what I'm going to be looking for. Hopefully Sean Payton really just gets him settled down. Will Bo Nix, once he's settled down though, be more aggressive? Will he start manipulating safeties with his eyes? Will he really test downfield? I'm really hoping he does, because if he does, that obviously gives the Broncos confidence to start him going into week 1, because he will take what the defense gives him, be it underneath or deeper downfield. If the defense is tightening things up at the line of scrimmage, playing a lot of press coverage, Bo Nix is going to have those opportunities to push the ball downfield. Lull him to sleep with the short passing game and the run game, and when the defense starts to play tighter to the line of scrimmage, that's when you can hit them over the top for the big play downfield. I think Bo Nix is going to be able to do a really good job of kind of settling in, lulling the defense to sleep, and then killing them like a silent assassin with the big plays downfield. So we're going to definitely look from that for Bo Nix. Then, once Zach Wilson gets in there with the threes, I'm going to be looking for the same kind of pre-snap operational stuff as Bo Nix. Zach Wilson has had some struggles with it in camp when it comes to cadence, when it comes to identifying the Mike linebacker, when it comes to setting the protection, making sure everybody is aligned, what's the safeties doing, are they rotating, are they staying where they are, all kinds of stuff like that you have to process before the ball is even snapped. Bo is ahead of the curve in that regard, especially for a rookie. Zach Wilson is behind the curve in that regard for a 4-year veteran. I'm curious to see how much that improves as we go throughout preseason, and hopefully live reps will help Zach Wilson get better on the fly in this Indianapolis Colts game. I'm also anticipating that Zach Wilson will have a few explosive plays, because he's good for an explosive play or two every time he gets on the field, but it's going to be mixed in with inaccurate passes and messing up the read at the line of scrimmage and not getting the team on the right page, stuff like that. That's all going to be mixed in, him not throwing to the right shoulder or to the right hip of the receiver, but you will see those deep balls. You will see him air it out and showcase that he really does have a cannon. Sometimes that cannon just has too much gunpowder and he doesn't really know how to control it accurately. But I do anticipate he will have some really big plays, especially against the third-string Colts defense. But operationally is what I'm really going to be paying attention to with Zach Wilson. Just can he go out there, spit the play call out in the huddle, get everybody on the same page at the line of scrimmage, get lined up, identify the Mike linebacker, use his cadence effectively, not have any false starts or any stupid pre-snap penalties, or induce any stupid pre-snap penalties for his teammates. That's what I'm really going to be looking for with Zach Wilson in this game. Moving into the running back position, obviously Javonte Williams, we're going to be keeping a really close eye on him. He's looked awesome in training camp so far, and I'm hoping to see that continue over into live game action. Will that explosiveness and burst still be there when the live bullets are flying and we're actually at full game speed? That remains to be seen, but we will find that out very quickly here tomorrow. Audric Estime, another guy, of course, we're all going to be looking at, making his NFL debut. Just how comfortable and confident is he in the system? Is he seeing things well in terms of his vision? All that good stuff. I'm going to be keeping a close eye on that with Audric Estime. Jaleel McLaughlin, what we're going to be keeping an eye on with him is, can he hold up in pass protection? Can he hold up as a true third down back? With his small frame, the odds are kind of stacked against him, but if he can do it, then a guy like Samaje Perine could easily become expendable when you combine what Audric Estime's skill set is and what Jaleel McLaughlin's skill set is. They're both cheaper when you combine them together than Samaje Perine's $3.5 million that the Broncos could save if they were to move on from him. So I'm going to be watching Estime, and I'm going to be watching Jaleel McLaughlin, and to an extent Blake Watson as well. We'll talk more about Watson in just a second, but I'm going to be watching all of those cats to see if we can basically get the role out of Samaje Perine from a more running back by committee approach, making Perine expendable. And when it comes to Perine, I'm looking to see if he stands out and separates himself and basically showcases, you guys would be stupid if you were to move on from me. That's what I want to see from Perine, is showcase why the Broncos need to keep you here and not dump off your $3.5 million salary. That's what I want to see from Perine. And then pivoting back to Blake Watson, what I want to see from him is just kind of shake some of the rustiness off. He's had some drops as he's been ramped back up into training camp. He's had some other mental errors as well. I want to see all that cleaned up, and I just want him to get more comfortable and more confident out there. So that's what I'm going to be looking for in terms of the running back room. Wide receiver-wise, Marvin Mims, we're all going to be keeping an eye on him as he transitions to this Z receiver role for the Denver Broncos, the old Jerry Jeudy role. Is he easing into that role comfortably and confidently? Is he going to have a big explosive play out there? And then we're of course going to be keeping an eye on Marvin Mims in the return game as well with the new kickoff rules. Tim Patrick is another guy that is kind of on the roster bubble right now with the emergence of young guys such as Devon Vele. Will Patrick stand out and be able to showcase to the team why he needs to stay and why they would be foolish to move on from him? We'll be looking for that from Tim Patrick. And then speaking of Devon Vele, the dude has been sensational in training camp so far. He's good for a contested catch pretty much every practice. I'm going to be looking for that same type of thing in game. Will he have a contested catch? And will he just be explosive and make an impact out there? He's been awesome in camp. I'm hoping that translates into the preseason games. So that's the wide receiver room. Tight ends, Greg Dulcich is another one of those guys whose stock has really risen throughout the course of training camp, just like Javonte Williams. Will that continue as we get the live bullets and we are actually at full game speed? That remains to be seen, but I'm very, very confident in Greg Dulcich. More confident than I've been in a long time. And then also the best player on the team, shout out Cecil, Lucas Kroll. We're going to be looking for him to make some big impact plays. Sean Payton, I feel like, is going to give Kroll a lot of snaps out there. Hopefully they cut it loose with him. Offensive line, I think right now the clear-cut weak link on the starting unit for the offensive line, besides the center position, which is still being figured out right now, is left guard with Ben Powers. Will Powers be able to settle in and kind of shake off some of the early rust that he's had in camp? We'll see. Then, of course, the center position, the battle between Luke Wattenberg and Alex Forsyth. Right now, I'd probably say Wattenberg is the leader in that clubhouse, but Forsyth could close the gap very easily with a strong performance against the Indianapolis Colts. And then finally, with the offensive line, I'm going to be looking at the swing tackle position. Who amongst Matt Parent or Alex Palczewski can emerge as the true top swing tackle for the Denver Broncos now that they've lost a guy like Quinn Bailey for the season? I'm going to be keeping an eye on Palczewski in particular because he had a really, really strong camp and preseason last year, and he's had a strong camp to this point. Will that preseason momentum continue here into 2024 for Alex Palczewski? Next, moving into the edge rush room, Jonah Ellis has had some nice splash plays in camp. I'm looking forward to see how that will translate into live game speed. We're going to get a real indication on who's the top dog in this team and who's kind of behind the curve a little bit, who's really kind of standing out amongst the others with these live bullets. And Jonah Ellis is a guy that I'm going to be keeping on keeping an eye on really closely. I'm also going to be keeping an eye on Thomas Incoom, who's had some explosive plays during camp. He's been really good as kind of a speed rusher. Will that translate also into in-game action? Thomas Incoom, really excited to see what he can do. Moving into the linebacking core, Jonas Griffith versus Cody Barton. That has been a really solid competition throughout the course of camp, and right now it's neck and neck. I don't know who is the top dog. Jonas Griffith has been awesome in camp, and Cody Barton's been really good as well. Which one of those guys will separate themselves? That's what I'm going to be looking for in these preseason games. And then undrafted rookie Lavelle Bailey out of Fresno State. Keep an eye on him. He's started to rise his stock a little bit in camp over these last couple of days. He's had some interceptions. He's been around the ball making some PBUs. Keep an eye on Lavelle Bailey. Defensive back. Obviously, that second boundary corner spot alongside Pat Surtain is the biggest focus of the defensive back group. Right now, it seems to be Riley Moss and Damari Mathis, the top dogs in that clubhouse. And I gotta say, for as poorly as Damari Mathis played for us last year, he has been really, really solid in training camp to this point this year. So I think that Damari Mathis is only going to continue to get better, but Riley Moss has been pushing him really hard. So I don't know which one of those two guys is going to emerge victorious, but it's going to be a really interesting battle for sure. Then, young safeties. Devon Key and J.L. Skinner have been really stepping up in the absence of Brandon Jones in camp. So much so that they felt Caden Stearns was expendable. Stearns also failed his physical with the Carolina Panthers, so the Broncos probably knew that health-wise Stearns wasn't quite up to where he needed to be. But the emergence of guys like J.L. Skinner and Devon Key have been really awesome in camp, and I think both of those guys are in line to be key rotational players, no pun intended, for the Denver Broncos in 2024, and I think they're going to get some significant snaps, especially in this first preseason game against Indianapolis. Keep an eye on both of them. And then finally, with special teams, there is a bit of a competition at punter right now between Riley Dixon and Trenton Gill. I think Gill's actually the leader in the clubhouse right now. I didn't think Riley Dixon was very good last year. Gill had some struggles with consistency in terms of ball placement with the Chicago Bears last year. That looks like it's gotten better with the coaching of special teams guru Mike Westhoff. So I think Trenton Gill is going to be ultimately the punter week one for the Denver Broncos, but we'll see if Riley Dixon can make his case in these preseason games. Another few things that are just real key in terms of preseason: stay healthy. That's the big one. We don't want to see any injuries in this game, so just stay healthy. Pull your starters out early if you feel like you've gotten some good work. We don't want to risk any injuries here. Sean Payton knows that, so that's the first key. Stay healthy. The next one: don't shoot yourself in the foot with stupid penalties, especially pre-snap penalties like false starts and jumping offside. That's easily preventable. You can really avoid that altogether if you're disciplined. So I'm looking for the Broncos to be able to avoid that as best as you can in a preseason situation. Besides that, Broncos country, I am curious, who are players that you are looking to stand out in this first preseason game against the Indianapolis Colts? Who do you feel like is going to make an impact? Who do you feel like is going to really capture the hearts of Broncos country in these next 3 games? Especially the ones that haven't really seen what's been going on at training camp. Drop those comments down below, guys. I would love to hear your thoughts, as always. Be sure to leave a like on this video, as well as subscribe to the channel, and be sure to tune in to my stream tomorrow at 11 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. We will also be doing pregame and postgame streams as well, so hopefully you guys can tune in to that. And until next time, guys, I am your host, Gage Madrid, saying peace out.